Welcome to everyone. This is our BCE, and if you're new here, Karen, at least for me, is in the upper left-hand corner on my screen, is our host, and she'll be both tracking the chat box as well as helping us get into breakout rooms when that time comes. The purpose of these sessions is really just particularly for people that are new to us, give you a flavor for what we do and give you an opportunity to have an experience of this work for yourself. So we have generally would have a couple of points of introduction about the topic and the process, and then we'll give you plenty of time to talk to each other. So if you would like to just put something in the chat box just to warm up those fingers about what brought you here today, that would be fantastic. And then I'll explain kind of what we're going to focus on for tonight. Well, night for me, morning for some of you. Mm. Mm.
Well, we've got a warm Pittsburgh and a warmth from the community, so must need some warmth.
Mm. 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 Wonderful. Mm. 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 Mm.
Thank you for your comments, everybody. It's
Yeah.
making your presence together with us. Thank you.
Yeah. Wonderful. All right. So just a couple of things again, just to help orient those of you who are with us for the first time. Those of you know me well enough to know I've been sort of on the frontier of coaching for nearly 30 years and developed narrative coaching, for which I'm most known about 20 some odd years, 25 years ago. And then part of the original source for these particular sessions over probably 4 or 5 years ago was just to create a sort of an easy space for people to drop in. There's not really any teaching. It's just a chance for you to be here with us and have some conversation with peers and just begin to have some reflective space and time to think about your own practice and what about this way of working might appeal to you. We're just a couple of you asked about narrative coaching, so we're in the process of rebuilding our entire website and platform to offer some really exciting opportunities for our programs for next year. In addition to offering some longer retreats with the new work around the Five Maturities, we're also partnering with a technology company to create a really cool practice space that's actually using narrative coaching as a prototype and using my ID work to design a really cool practice space, making a huge improvement over where they already are. And so that will be part of our feature next year to give you plenty of chances to practice and learn from each other. So that's coming up. But for now, I'm going to just put up this slides and give us a chance to get ourselves oriented to today. All right. So we've kind of adopted this theme of flow and a sort of an annual theme for the year of trust. And so I just found this particular image quite enticing and very much the feeling tone of kind of what we want to focus on as part of today's session. So we're in sort of month 3 of a 4-month cycle. We'll have one more of these in November, and then we'll have kind of a wrap up in December. And the first 2 relate to the meditation model we'll introduce here in a few minutes. We're going to do that a little bit differently tonight, but the first one was around helping us to increase our capacity to let go, and to really be with the what is of the river as an analogy for life. The second month was around let be. So do we actually trust the current, or are we trying to manage what is in a way that we think we can somehow control, but somehow can we instead allow ourselves to trust ourselves, and trust the current? And so this has to do with the light. And sometimes when we're in processes of change or uncertainty, when we meet again in November, those of you who are in the States will have a new president one way or another. And so it's like, do we actually trust life itself? And you'll see this in just a minute, but this ability to what degree can we allow things to come, as opposed to trying to make things happen, which is often the pressure. And so do we have enough light around us? Do we trust the light that's within us? Do we trust the lights that others are holding on our behalf? And so we'll give you some chances to play with that as a way to think about your practice, but also think about your own life. And then we'll come back to do the final one in November. And as always, as we go along, if you've got questions or things that come up for you, feel free to put something in the chat box, and Karen will bring that forward for us, or you can raise your hand and speak out. So this is this wonderful young person doing yoga on the beach is our sort of our guide in some ways. So we have this particular slide every time, just as a reminder. So two pieces about this that are important for those of you who are new. So this moment is your curriculum is one of our core beliefs. Rather than preparing lots of things ahead of time, we're inviting us to pay attention to this moment in time, this space and time. And what's it asking us to pay attention to notice, to do, to feel. And so we're in this dialogue with what we're encountering as a way for us to learn about ourselves. And so in that, as things come up tonight or in the session, to worry less about, well, does this fit, or does this belong, or can I ask this, but just notice, like, whatever experience you're having, maybe like you're totally confused. What does the confusion have to offer me? And so part of it is through this work of moving beyond coaching as a formula or even coaching as a model, that coaching is a presencing activity that from which we draw what wants our attention. So just notice, what do you feel ready for, and what's trying to reveal itself to you that you might want to pay attention. And some of that might be expected and or imagined, and some of it might catch you by surprise. And those are often the most fun ones. So we're not going to spend the whole time on this, but this is the process that we've been working with all year long. It's a breathing practice through which it's built around the narrative coaching frame, but it allows us to use our breath as a way to trace our journey through whatever it is we've put our attention to. We're going to do a part of this tonight, but I wanted to sort of orient you to the whole picture, so that you have a little bit of context for the practice. And we use the breath as a way to help us be more grounded and present, but also symbolically, what happens to us when we breathe out versus when we breathe in? What are we being asked to let go of that we might compost and give back to the earth because we're just tired of carrying it or believing it or telling ourselves that story? And a lot of our work now is moving towards maturity. How do we mature ourselves? And so much of that starts with, what are we going to let go of? But we're gonna balance this out with a practice for tonight. But I just want to ask and just see if anything comes up for you, whether it's clear or not, that comes up for you just in looking at this, that you might want to share or ask, that would be helpful to you. And then we'll move into our practice together. So we'll just give you a minute just to kind of look this over and see if anything is intriguing to you. And Leah,
So, this is kind of funny, but when the part where it says the full circle, following the flow like a river to the sea,
yes.
I've been in a state of grief for since July, since June. My cousin, real close, passed away, and I went through a grief workshop, and part of that was me doing some final rituals to kind of release the emotions or whatever.
Mhm.
And flow has been showing up everywhere, like flow in the sea and the river. And I live in Pittsburgh, there's three rivers. So what I decided to do was to write a letter to her with all the things that I wanted to say that I never got a chance to say. And I was going to burn it. And then one of the participants said, well, why don't you put it in the river? And
Mhm.
I was like, oh, that's wonderful, wonderful. So living in Pittsburgh, we have three rivers, and the Ohio River is one of the rivers. And my cousin lived off of the Ohio River. So I decided that I was going to take the letter, shred it, and then sprinkle it on the Ohio River, let it go down the Ohio into the Mississippi and wherever the Mississippi dumps into. And it just
Okay.
felt so freeing and like full circle to me. So I just wanted to share that.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Hmm. Anything else for right now? Mhm. Anything,
Um,
Karen?
Yes, Francie says, so interesting. The arrows are counterclockwise.
Yes. Do you want to know why, Francis? Um, so historically, the rites of passage model is two things. One is that generally, historically, when it was developed 100 years ago or so, at least in anthropology, as a way to teach this, cultures have been practicing this for thousands of years, but it only had one horizontal line and it was sort of a singular threshold. And but the top was tended to be display the outer world and the um, lower half was the inner world. And that was the journey of moving through like boyhood to manhood or girlhood to womanhood. Um, but also the thing I found really strange was that, but it sort of made sense, but the sorry. Um, the arrows often went in the direction of the clock, which made sense because they often were sort of contained within the community and followed these rituals within the community. But the thing I always struck me was that what's happening to the person in the rite of passage is actually going against the tide. It's going against the way the clock flows because you're actually releasing from I was a boy, now I'm not. And there's this space in between where you're neither, right? You're in this sort of process. And so for me, it's we start in situate, which is where people begin, but they go on a journey which often then takes them to discover a different part of themselves, allow themselves to feel something for the first time, or experiment with something new for the first time. And then when they come back around to the top, they are situating again, but now from a very different place. And so, um, um, because of the culture that most of us live in, it's easy to get caught up in a kind of consumerist mentality of like, I just need to read 10 more books or go to 5 more workshops or go do more things as if we can, and we end up chasing enlightenment or growth or whatever we're after, as if it existed somewhere else. If we just run fast enough around the circle, then we'll get there. And in my experience, it actually takes you farther and farther away. And so I'm going to got to reverse that, and that's why the second phase moves through mystery. Because we don't know what's there because we've never been there before, or if we have, we've forgotten. And so a lot of this is helping us to kind of pick up what is available to me now that I've begun this journey that I might want to do something with to bring back to the world. So that's why it's that way. But thanks for asking.
And there's another comment about the liminal space.
Yes. So all those dotted lines, sometimes they're fortress gates, sometimes they're pits, sometimes they're all kinds of things. But these are distinctions, or they're points um, of crossing from one space to another. So Pamela, so you are about to do a ritual to cross a threshold with your friend of you finally get to say what you wanted to say. So you will on the other side of that, what you wrote will be in pieces and soggy and floating down the river, right? So life will be different because you will have done that. So a lot of the work that we do in coaching or other things is helping people make choices or make changes, and that often involves um, making decisions which involve a choice, or in this case, a sense of stepping into a new domain. And the most significant one in many ways is often the one at the bottom, because we've left what we had, but we don't have anything now because we've put away or let go of or composted or reinterpreted or whatever. And that's the preparation for what in Jungian terms we would think about as individuation, which then would take us up um, into a new story about ourselves, a new identity, a new behavior. Yeah. And so if often that it means we encounter something that might be new to us. Okay. Are we all good, Karen? Can we
We
move
are
on?
good.
Excellent. Wonderful. All right. So here's what we're going to do. So I'm just going to make this really simple. And so what I'm going to invite you to do is we're going to focus in this particular one on this sort of the third phase. This has to do with what matters. One of the things that becomes clear when we move through these kind of processes is we get much more aware of what's actually standing out, what actually seems important that was often buried under stuff from before. And so the way we're going to do this is that since you have to do both of these, we're going to do this together for about, I don't know, 6-7 minutes. And you obviously have to breathe in at some point. You can't just breathe out for 7 minutes unless you're very talented. Um, so what I'm going to invite you to do is just kind of, as we begin in a minute, just bring into your mind's eye something that's present to you. So again, Pamela gave a great example. So her cousin who passed away is on her mind and on her heart. And so, but think of something that's present for you that you might want to spend some time with. And what we'll do is for the first half of our breathing, obviously you have to do both, go around the circle to stay alive. But the first 3 minutes, I'd like you to just really focus on noticing that your out breath. And to see as you hold this thing in your mind's eye or in your heart or wherever you imagine it is, as you breathe out, just notice if there's something that wants to be released and let go. That might, again, help you see this more clearly or see some new aspect of this or realizing you're holding on or and just focus on letting go. And then I'll give a sort of a sign about halfway through. Keep breathing, keep holding this in your mind's eye, although it might seem different at that point. And this time I'd like you to focus on your in-breath. Given that you've let go of something, does that make more room for breathing, or does your breathing in change? And to see, which is our focus for today, what wants to come? Like what images show up or emotions show up or insights show up that with your in-breath just come into, in many ways, as a reminder of the light. Okay? And so if Pamela did this with her original sharing, she might say, She might to let come a sense of joy for all that her cousin meant to her, or a new memory she had forgotten, like, oh yeah, that's why she was so special to me. And so again, this is not a hunt. This is not a contest. It's not a test of any kind. So the more relaxed you are, the more you sort of surrender to your own breath, the more that's actually going to reveal itself. Um, and so for me, it's one of the core principles of our work is is to allow ourselves to trust the moment, trust ourselves, trust the process, and work with much more ease and grace. So I'll do this for 6 minutes, but I'll do 3 minutes with your focusing on the breathing out and letting go. And then the last 3 minutes will be on breathing in to see what you might let come. Are there anything that anybody needs to be confident they can do this? And anything, Karen, for in the chat box?
So far, it's clear.
Oh, excellent. All right. So I'm just going to set my timer so I can keep us on track. And here we go. Okay, so I'm just going to invite you now just to close your eyes and allow yourself to feel even more comfortable in your chair if you're sitting. You might, most of us spend a lot of our day in our head. So you might start by just wiggling your toes and feeling the ground as best you can. And then just kind of work your way up your legs and into your torso, just feeling your whole body be here now. And allow it to relax and to serve you for this process. There's no need to breathe in any special way. Just allow yourself to be breathed. Your body's been doing this for a long time. It knows exactly how to breathe. And you may find that closing your eyes will help you just to continue to relax. And as you do so, I'd like you again just to bring into your mind's eye or into your heart or wherever you would hold this in your body, something that's present for you as we begin this activity that feels like it might matter to you. Or maybe you even know that it already matters. And if it comes to you, you might think of an image or a phrase, just something to help you hold this in your mind's eye while we move through the rest of the practice. So as we begin, I want you just to notice your next exhale, and maybe even exaggerate it so you feel it even more and really attune yourself to exhaling. And as you exhale, just allow your diaphragm to relax and drop down so that the breath just completes itself and then naturally fills back up. So as you continue to breathe, just start to notice, holding in your mind's eye whatever you brought to this meditation. Is there anything with your out breath that wants to be let go of? So I'll let us move through a period of silence and just keep breathing and seeing what your out breaths make available to you. What is it you want to let go of? You might even think of this as what's asking you to let go of it. So we have about another 30 seconds. So just notice the next couple of exhales. See if anything else appears for you. All right, I'd like you now to just keep breathing, but now shift your attention to your inhale. And as you start to attend to your inhale, just notice if anything feels different now. And again, no need for effort. Just let your belly relax, let your body breathe, and see what comes up for you now. As you inhale, just explore or notice what's trying to get your attention and come in. How can you trust it more to allow it to be received? All right, so I'm going to invite you to pause. And when you're ready to open up your eyes and come back to the room. What I'd like to invite you to do when you're ready, if at all, is just put anything you would like to in the chat box, just to kind of get it started. And then in a few minutes, when everybody's really fully back, we'll see if anybody wants to share anything. But for now, either write some notes to yourself and/or write it in the chat box, or just relax and enjoy. All right. Oh, it's popping into the chat box.
They're flowing in.
Let's see.
Mm.
Hmm.
Indigo, I love how you say a sense of self that feels like my favorite shirt.
Yeah.
Mm.
Hmm. 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 All right. As people are writing, I'm just curious if anybody would like to share anything, and then what we'll do is we're going to put you into some small groups in a minute, give you a chance to talk in a smaller context, but just want to see if there's anything anybody wants to ask or share for right now.
Indigo here.
Yes, Indigo.
I had such well, I don't know what to call it. I had a picture, images of what I was going to do with narrative coaching back in 2022. And it has been super active in all aspects of my life. And for the most part, I didn't end up doing what I thought I was going to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm having some grieving at letting go of an attachment I had to making that manifest.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what did occur for me in narrative coaching is for about a year, I was a ghost in my own body. I didn't have my old references, but I hadn't formed any new ones.
Mm.
Now I'm starting to form a sense of self that, as was noted, feels like my favorite shirt. I feel at home in. And I still don't know what I'm going to do with narrative coaching, except I love it. um, and so I'm making peace with that.
Mm-hmm.
In my old way, the huntress, I would have started tracking again. Okay, what am I going to, how am I going to do this? What's the target? What's the focus? And I've let go of that. So again, I feel not like the ghost in my body, but a, the part of me that's used to anticipating all the time feels like a ghost because I
Okay.
don't have anything I'm targeting. And that
Okay.
feels really scary. So,
Welcome to the mystery.
yes.
Yeah. Hmm. Thank you, Indigo. Is there anybody else who'd like to share? Manjeet.
Hi, David, Catherine,
Hello.
Karen. Nice to be here. This is exactly what I needed today, so thank you. Yeah, I've been doing a dance between let go and let. what is it? Let go and
Let come.
no, the second one, let go and
Let be.
let be. Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, because too often I want to channel, to let come. I want to force the come. So I've been allowing for the last few months to sort of, I go, let be, let come, let go, let be, let go, let come. And it's been a very odd dance. And then I haven't been very compassionate with myself on it. But let me just say this, that this meditation that you just took us through, the letting go had to do with a lot of scarcity, which was interesting in relation to many things. And the out breath was very difficult. And usually it's not that difficult. So I'm just telling you what I've noticed. So the knot almost was getting heavier in sort of the third chakra. And then when you went to let come, a vision appeared. So I'll share the vision. The vision was actually a tree. And I know that many of us think about trees, about growth, but it was my face in the middle of this tree. And there was these beautiful branches growing out of it. And then there was a big golden heart in the trunk. And the breath, the in-breath became quite calm. So anyways, that's giving me great hope and lots of possibility, just even that image. So I thank you for that.
You're welcome. Anna.
So I did the breathing out, I did the breathing in. The image that I had was of like a giant web. I'm in the center, and it has to do with my connectedness and feeling connected to the universe. Okay. It was when I started to write afterwards, a little journaling, that I realized the feelings of how difficult it is how difficult it has been for me to be letting go, because I've been holding myself together. And even while the connections are very important to me, I've been more, the energy is in holding myself together and letting go, which really came after we ended that 6-minute cycle. Gives me much more of a sense of the complete energy flow throughout this universe of connection without any conscious effort. So that's also the letting come.
Yeah.
I just hadn't realized how tightly I've been holding myself to hold myself together because of things that I've been working with and dealing with. So thank you.
You're most welcome. I'm glad you're able to notice that. Yeah. And in time, this cycle starts to it's a loop for a reason. So when we let go, we create space, and then more things can come. And when we live in a time when I find that most of us are holding our breath often for a whole host of emotional and literal reasons. But so part of this is just letting the flow happen. And yeah. Anybody else? Otherwise, what I'd like to do while some of this is still fresh for you is I'd like, Karen, can we put people into groups of 3? And yeah.
Yes. And for how many minutes would you like that, David?
I would like to give them 30 minutes. So we have a nice luxurious conversation.
Very, very luscious.
Yeah.
And does anybody need to leave before we do that?
I will in 15 minutes.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, who said that? I have
Indigo.
Indigo. Okay,
Indigo.
thank you, Indigo. Thank you. Okay.
And before you go, I almost forgot. I almost got so excited you were going in breakout rooms for each other that I forgot to share this. So these are Oh, yeah. These are just 3 questions that you can take into your room. You can use them, not use them as you see fit. But just as something you've done, what did you notice that matters to you? What does it say about how you're doing and what you need most right now? And what you might say in terms of if you let more light in. It's part of where I heard Anna going, but it relates to these 2 questions. So the first one, the breathing out, is how am I? Like, what am I noticing there? And that I am, I'm holding, like, so if I take Anna, your story, I am holding on. And so just these questions are here. Karen will put them in the chat box for you, so you have them when you go into breakout rooms. And then one of the principles we work with a lot with, as we were sort of hinting at with my comments, was not that all this has to come from you, like what are you noticing from the outside? So Anna picked up a pen and started noticing some things that wasn't apparent when she finished. So just to begin to explore, is there anything in your environment, whether you want it to be there or not, that might have something you need in all this? So again, just it's part of this cycle, breathing from within ourselves out and then from the out back in. So we're going to mimic that by just inviting you to see what these questions might offer you in your small group. Okay? Are we good to go, Karen? You're on mute.
Yes, and a few people are going to have to leave, but you're still okay. You'll still have 2 people left in those rooms. And if that doesn't pan out, just come back and we'll redistribute you. All right.
Okay, enjoy.
All right. Take good care.
There we go.
Hmm.
Mm.
Coming in fast and hard. Welcome back.
All right. So recognizing that we have those who like to write and those who like to talk as preferences, pick yours or stretch yourself and do the opposite. But just would like to invite you to share about anything that feels important to you about your conversation, and you're welcome to write about it to yourself, write about it to the chat, and or share it out loud. Mm. 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 Marianne.
Thank you. On reflecting just for a few moments on the group that I was with and the conversation that we had, I'm struck by the movement from expressions of fearfulness and doubt to excitement and expectation and looking forward
Mm.
by spending time in the present moment.
Mm.
That's where the transition has taken place.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Perry.
Thanks,
Thank you,
David.
Marianne.
I in our group was just struck by the power of light as a metaphor around
Mm.
literally what's coming, what's going, what will be let in, what might go out, light going out, light coming in. It just as was a very generative. I mean, we're talking about light, and then it becomes a metaphor for so many other things. And so I was really appreciating that and kind of fascinated by that in our conversation.
I was reading this really beautiful sort of poetic piece this week, and this woman, somewhat akin to Pamelia's story, was the origins of the poem, as I understood it, was she was crying over through grief, and then she'd gone to the beach, I think, and so she was crying, and her tears fell in the ocean. Then she realized her tears came from the ocean, that it's all water that's moving through the system and showing up in many forms. Just like our cells came from the stars, and so part of this, and we were talking with a couple of people who couldn't join a room, um, about, there's a lot of things that would lead one to hold one's breath these days. And so if there's nothing coming in, it's hard to make much going out. Or if there's too much going out, you can't breathe in fast enough. And so part of it is, how do we stay present to what is, even when things are difficult? Yeah. And noticing, of the two, is there one that tends to be the place where our breath gets stuck? Yeah. Are there others who would like to share? Is it A3? Did I say it okay?
It's R3, yeah.
A3, okay, great.
Um,
Welcome.
Thank you. I had a great conversation with Anna in January. They really helped me a lot. Actually, Anna's particular example, I believe it's resonated with a lot of people in the sense of finding it so difficult to let go of things. And I briefly shared my particular visual that I had during the whole breathing exercise was the visual of a vague humanoid being crushed by two very large hands. And unfortunately, even in the gracious amount of time you gave us, I wasn't really able to let things come and let things go properly. But as we were also talking about things like, what are you afraid of, as part of the 3 questions, and what in turn would be something that really helps you a lot, I realized I had sort of a bit of an epiphany where I realized I wasn't the figure that was being crushed. I was the hands doing the crushing, as it were.
Wow.
So it was really about understanding that it's okay to let things go if you make a mistake, or if you make a failure, if you can learn from it and forgive yourself for making that failure, because it's just a part of life. So, and that was the light, as it were, that came.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing. I'm happy for you in that awareness. Yeah. Chris.
Thank you very much. This feels like a magic of synchronicity for this today. A lovely time in the group, and I won't share what was there, but to zoom back out and say, just recently I was, many people were listening into a conversation with Meg Wheatley, Brian McLaren, and Matthew Fox on post-doom spirituality. And I feel like we've just created a little island of sanity, a little order of the moment, like in the sense of a sacred order, a secular sacred order that lets us be in this, to get post the doom while we're still in it. Because on every front, it just looks like it's going to total shit.
Is that your theological conclusion, Chris?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
just checking.
But this also feels like, it was formless and chaotic and void, and then the spirit breathed over it. Like we're in this place where spirit is breathing. So this whole thing has just sat with that other stuff on the largest scale, a global planetary scale. And I want to thank you for creating this refuge space, and all of us for creating this energetic refuge space.
Yeah. One of my favorite life memories, Chris, is having pizza and beer with Matthew Fox. Being top 10 events of my entire life. I had so much fun. I won't tell you how many beers we had, but it was a good night. But I just feel like I understand. I mean, yeah, we don't know what cycle we're in. We may have 100 years of doom. We don't know. I'm not in a real hurry to it's very uncomfortable. It could easily go badly. I just think as humans, we clamor for some level of certainty. And even by naming something, somehow it feels better. But, and I mean, it's three brilliant people. So, but I just, I don't know. We don't know the bigger picture of all this and what it means for us. And yeah, but I totally appreciate and savor that we could at least have 90 minutes of an island of breathing. Oh, holding doom lightly. There you go. Yeah. Well, there's more to be said there, but I'll see what else wants to appear. Hmm. And are you going to speak again? You look like you're moving yourself to
it was
speak.
just an image that I got just now from
Okay.
listening to this. And it was of a bubble, and that this 90 minutes together has been this wonderful bubble, like being in a hot air balloon in a gondola
Hmm.
floating over a beautiful place. And it doesn't matter what's going on in the world, because for me, it's just been this whole universe unto itself. That
Hmm.
was the image that came. That was what I was going to share. So
Yeah.
I thank
Wonderful.
everyone here, and especially my partners in our breakout,
Hmm.
and you.
Oh, good. Yeah. And it's one of the main themes of our work going forward even more is I did my sort of annual pilgrimage to the coaching.com summit and did a demonstration of narrative coaching yet again last week. And I thought it got the highest ratings ever, but I also thought it was very interesting and really quite powerful session. And I got the usual array of, but that's not coaching, to which I replied, and who cares? Um, Certainly not me, but I said, and the client was actually a client of mine, it was amazing. And I feel like there's this invitation, whether the doom lasts for another minute or another 1,000 years, we can't be trapped in these boxes of who we're told we're supposed to be. We don't have the resources we need right now. We don't have the forms enough. We don't. And so part of our mission going forward is really just to liberate ourselves to go create new ways of working and being with each other, to plant trees under which we might sit for a while and have some new kinds of conversations. Yeah. Mm. Right. And Laurel, I must say, I'm really enjoying your new title you've given yourself. It's fantastic.
I am volunteering for one of the two campaigns
Uh-huh.
that's headed by a woman. And I'm a tech support person, so hence
Excellent.
data captain.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
I just put a quote in. I heard her speak yesterday. It's so easy to get discouraged.
Yeah.
Even though the phone banks are very up events. Some of the people we talk to aren't. So I put a quote in from Harris for hopefully
Okay.
to
Uh,
increase
yes.
people's mood.
Yeah. Yeah. So we just have a couple more minutes. Is there anybody else who would like to share? And if not, oh yes, Michelle.
I thought I'd share.
Of
Thanks
course.
for the invitation. Well, I really trusted the chair that I was sitting in. And that just held me like a glove to go through the experience, David.
Mm-hmm.
And through that experience, I crossed the river. And the strangest thing that happened, though, is that as I was releasing, and I was sharing this with the group, I really felt my left side of the brain was just like this huge weight.
Mm.
And as I crossed, and as I was going down the river to then inhale, my left brain then started to connect, and I'm on the other side of the river after that.
Mm.
And in that alone, the release, I couldn't see it anymore. Down the river was so long, I was so far away, it was
Wow.
just mind-blowing that I ended up in this beautiful golden place waiting to start again the new stories of myself. And it was like fire, it was the sand, and the water was just so still too at the end. So thank you. That experience, and I thank my chair too, because it held me so well that it allowed the experience to happen.
Thank you, Michelle.
Okay.
Well, my wish, well, would bring this to a close. My wish for us all that when we encounter moments where someone might need a bubble, we now know how to make one.
Yeah.
It could be for ourselves, it could be for someone else, but just to allow ourselves to make that available to other people as we move along. All right, we don't need these anymore. I'll get the other way.
And David, I'm just going to remind us all that whole experience was 6 minutes, that
Yeah.
led to 30 minutes of discussion. So it's not always about time either. Timing, yes, but not time. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Karen, as always, for your fabulous hosting. And thank you all for joining us. We'll see you again next month in November if you choose to come and join us, and be well.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, David.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, David.
Bye.
You're most welcome.